so dumb, like you're this young and you shouldn't have anything to be depressed about, that's probably the worst thing you could do for someone. It's always important to really not judge people and just be more of a helping hand to them. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the K&J podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Today, I am not joined by my co-host, Kaptionz. I gave him a little bit of a break because in the last video, he did solo, so I decided to do this one solo. Before we get into this video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that bell notification icon to be updated on when we post. Let's get into this. So, if you haven't seen the last podcast, Kaptionz had mentioned something that I was kind of going through. I had posted a video on my main channel, which you could find right here in this info card. But pretty much, I had made a video talking about something that I've been dealing with for a good while. It's been years in the making, but I have been I don't want to say suffering or battling, but I just want to say that I've been dealing with depression for a good while now. Not really too sure when it started. I know that thinking back before I decided to press the record button and talk about it, I was thinking back on the earliest thing I could remember where things started to change, which for me it was during high school. Things started kind of changing for me. I started being more kind of to myself, kind of like disconnecting from people. I was still, fairly I knew people knew of me, I dated, things like that. It's just I could kind of slowly think back to during that time frame that stuff was kind of off about me. Like I was very isolated. I, started being really rebellious toward parents, things like that. Started kind of acting out and doing things. But it really started, the depression started hitting hard a little bit after I don't want to say whenever I joined the military, but it was around that time frame where it started becoming more apparent. Because my very first deployment that I did, it was a 10-month deployment that I had to do, and that's whenever it really sank in because it was just me, and I had no one really to talk to about it. I didn't have time to cry or express my feelings, things like that. So it started getting really bottled up, and that's kind of where all my issues kind of started coming to the forefront. At least I don't blame the military at all for anything that's been happening to me. This is all on me, but I just wanted to take this time to talk to y'all about this issue. So like I said in the video, I kind of talked about my inability to really create content on a frequent basis, coming up with videos every week like I had promised at the beginning of the year. Not really giving y'all quality stuff. And, I've been fortunate enough to have Kaptionz kind of talk with me and, give me this outlet to, not really be the poster child for this thing, but really just to be able to talk in a comfortable setting to where I feel like I really won't be too judged. And, I've been feeling a lot of love in the comments or people messaging me hey, I saw your video and, this and that, it's, whatever. But the biggest thing I want to take away from this is if you're dealing with, depression or anxiety or any type of thing, whether it's, I can't think of the word with drugs. I can't think of what it's called right now. I'm so sorry. I'm sure it'll come to me, but addiction. Sorry. So any type of addiction, any type of mental thing, any type of physical thing, I do urge you to talk to someone about it. That was my biggest downfall, is the fact that I didn't feel like I needed to talk to anyone about it. And it really affected me. I just kept things bottled up. It messed up my relationships. It messed up my ability to care for my kid. For those of you that don't know, I do have a child. She lives back in Texas, and I'm here right now in Washington. So, going through all that stuff, it really affected my ability to, really kind of care for her and to, like look at her and be like, I'm actually happy, which, it's sad to say that. Like whenever I look at my kid, I love her with all my heart, don't get me wrong. It's just the fact that, I just don't feel like myself. Like I just kind of feel cold, and it's sad, I've been trying to work on it, but really it helps to talk about it to anyone, whether it's a friend or a counselor. I do suggest though that if you are going to talk to someone, I it's not that I don't like it, I appreciate it, but when people try giving me advice on what to do, I'd rather just have someone to listen and, not really like say, oh, well, you should do this and do that. No, it's more like just be a listening ear to people. And the other thing too is not to discredit people when they tell you these things, because I've had in the past people telling me, oh, you're so dumb, like you're this young and you shouldn't have anything to be depressed about. That's probably the worst thing you could do for someone. The only thing that you can do is just be there and be like, I'm sorry you're going through this. Is there anything I could do for you? It shouldn't be judgmental. Like I always hear, oh, people with addiction, they could stop whenever they want, or, they chose this, but no one really chooses this type of stuff. Like, of course, drugs is maybe a little bit different because, maybe it's a coping mechanism. Then later on it gets to where, like, you can't function properly without doing this type of stuff. So it's always important to really not judge people and just be more of a helping hand to them. But yeah, going back on the whole depression thing, like, it's been something that I've been dealing with. I've been trying to get help with it. I've gone to counseling a couple of times, but for me it's really difficult because I don't like asking for help. That is one thing that is my biggest flaw, is I hate asking people for help. I'd rather just try doing things on my own. And, it really hasn't been beneficial to me because it's been a struggle trying to get to where I am today, where I still have my days to where I'm just like laying in bed, not wanting to eat, just feeling like complete crap. And then I have days to where, I'm able to pick up a camera, I'm smiling, I'm conversating. So it goes like in highs and lows for me. But of course, everyone else is different. There's people that just, can't do anything and they just feel, worthless or whatever. And to them, I say, like, you definitely need to talk to someone. That's the biggest thing. I'm not trying to sound like a victim. I'm not trying to sound like, the voice for all depressed people or people with anxiety, whatever. It's just a lot of people don't like talking about this type of stuff because, it is a serious topic and we need to treat it as such, because there are people out there that are asking for help but get ignored. Either, oh, they're just messing around, or, oh, they have no reason to feel this way. But even, like, if someone comes to you and says, hey, I've been feeling this, be a listening ear for them. Just be a shoulder for them to lean on. And that's the biggest takeaway. Like, I've been lucky enough to have friends that, do that for me. They try to get me out of, my barracks room, or try to get me out of bed. They're like, hey, just come hang out with us, do this, do that. So, I've been really lucky. It has gotten bad, though. A lot of people think that suicide is kind of a way to go. Like, they just want to end the pain. They just want to stop feeling this way. And I just want to say that it's not the answer. Like, life is worth living. It's difficult to talk about this subject. And, I apologize to people watching this and they're like, wait, why am I watching this? Like, I didn't want to be told this. But for those of you still sticking around, like, it is something we need to, bring forth, is like, life is very worth living. It's not worth it to, take your own life and then the repercussions of it, because you don't know other people's lives that you could be affecting, whether you have family members, friends, and just having them think, what could I have done? Why didn't I see this? I should have done this, I should have done that. It's just this huge ripple effect that you have on everyone around you. Even if you feel like you're alone, there's always someone out there for you. There's always someone that thinks about you or cares about you or is like, invested in you. Whether you know it or not, it's true. And, I've dealt with something like that. Like, this is hard for me to explain, but I've actually attempted. I don't want to really go into detail, but luckily, it didn't go through. I'm alive today, and I just think about everything I would have missed if I had been successful in my attempt. It is really hard for me to talk about this, like, because people could watch this and then feel some type of way, but I don't want to, like I said, be a victim of this. I'm finding ways to make it past all this. And YouTube's been a really good outlet. I've been able to do this podcast with one of my very good friends. Me and him talked about this, and he was like, if you want, you could have a voice to talk to people during the podcast. And I tried doing the same thing on my channel. So I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate. And I just think about what if I had been successful in my attempt, everything I would have missed, the friends I would have made, the places I would have seen, seeing my daughter grow up, this and that, all the people I would have left behind. It's selfish for me. Now, it is hard to endure this type of stuff. It's difficult. It's the most it's just the hardest thing you'll ever have to do is whenever you admit this type of stuff. Whenever you do decide to talk to someone, it's the hardest step, but I promise you, once you get past that step, slowly you'll be able to feel better. I'm not going to guarantee you an overnight success or you'll be good in a few months. It's taken me years to get to this point in my life to where I could talk to people watching this about it. Being able to, tell other people, like, it's going to get better. Whether you deal with bullying, whether you deal with discrimination, whether you deal with depression, anxiety, abuse, addiction, anything like that, there is always a way to get past it. But it's the hardest thing, is taking that first step. So for those of you watching that go through this like I do, please just know that there is a way to beat it. It's going to be the most difficult thing, but the hardest things in life are always the most worthwhile doing. I'm sorry for, getting on this dark subject. I'm sorry for those of you that kind of clicked out within the first 30 seconds of this video. If you're still here, thank you for listening. I'm going to keep this relatively short, but I will be linking a number for a couple of hotlines that you can go to if you ever feel down. If you want to show words of inspiration down in the comments below, please do. Me and Kaptionz do want to start doing this more one-on-one type stuff. We're going to be calling it Off the Script podcasts. Give it a like if you want to see more of this type of stuff where we're just talking, really, ranting about what we want to rant about, talking about what we want to talk about. And of course, we'll still have the regular, organized podcast where we talk about a different subject like we've done in the past, of course. But as always, please subscribe, hit that bell notification icon, leave words of encouragement in the comments below, share this video for those people that are going through this type of stuff or, whatever. And, just always be a friend to someone in need. You have no idea how a simple hello or a have a great day goes. I always smile whenever someone's walking past me. They're like, oh, hello, how are you doing? Strike up a conversation, meet new people, say hello to a random stranger. But again, this is the K&J podcast. We'll see y'all in the next one.